A very good morning to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It is the last Monday of November 2021, the 29th day. Lots of stuff that we've got for you as we go through this day. First, remember that today there is going to be a pass-out parade, and this is at the National Police Service, a campus at Embakasi, and this is going to be presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta. That is going to be a live event coming from Embakasi. John Jacob Curie is our reporter there, so he's going to keep us appraised on that, and you can watch as the recruits who've been training at Embakasi complete their course and are now commissioned to become police officers and do their duty to the public. Also, in the courts, former FKF President Nick Mwendwa was arrested on Friday, and there are charges that are going to be preferred to him. So that's another story that we're going to be keeping up with as far as this is concerned. So that's just some of the stories that we're going to be looking at, and also updates from the Ministry of Health. I know there is that global scare about the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, and everyone's talking about it. The Ministry of Health is expected to give guidelines to the country about this. Plus also conversations here in studio about boxing. You can see that already we have got the gloves here. This is the one sport that nobody plays, so we've got the gloves and find out how do the boxers, work around with this. At the same time, they're meant to make the effect of the punches, and especially from the knuckles, less. But still, we see people getting cut up, people bleeding, people getting knocked out by the force of that. Secondly, we shall be having a conversation about Kenya 15s. That's Paul Odera, coach of the Simbas. They were in South Africa. They played 4 matches, different results. But at the end of it all, what are the learning lessons for Team Kenya when it comes to 15s rugby? Plus, Jeffrey Kamworor, we expect to link up with him from Eldoret, where he's preparing to go for the Valencia Marathon. Takes place on Sunday. He travels tomorrow. And obviously, a review of what's been happening in the world of football, the CAF Confederation Cup, decisions that have been made by the Confederation of African Football. That's part of the things that we shall be talking about. So there you have it. And right now, let's get straight into our first conversation. And this one is about boxing, because this weekend we have a series of fights. They have been dubbed the grudge match. How serious? Why call it a grudge match? They say it's a sport, but the build-up to it is always wild. And then after the boxers fight, what you do is you see them, give them a hug. The organizers of this fight are big-time promotions, and we've got the CEO, Christopher Murithi. Christopher, welcome to KBC Channel 1.
Thank you.
And first, this is professional boxing.
Yes.
And the first thing we'd like to do is just to give the proper context of it as compared to amateur boxing, where we draw that line.
Yeah, so thank you for hosting me. Mm-hmm. Well, amateur boxing, you normally train as hard, but represent your country. As of the professional boxing, yes, as much as you're representing your country, it's also business for you. Yeah, you tend to sign a check. At the end of the day, there's a payday. Yeah. Now,
let's look at the professional boxing scene in Kenya as we speak. We know the pandemic disrupted a lot of it. But how was it before? Because I think the last proper huge fight everyone was talking about was involving Fatma Zarika. How was it going into March of 2020?
Well, the boxers never put their gloves down. Mm-hmm. They were still training hard. Respect to all the boxers. Once you're a champion, always a champion. Once you're an athlete, you'll always do what you need to do. They kept in shape, and hence now the president, once he called off the curfew and everything else, it was upon us as promoters to come back in and, bring in the boxers, have an event. And yeah, we have the grudge match, which was there for a while. It's a rematch. Not only a rematch, but now we find a resolution with a title on the line.
Well, we'll be coming to that, the specifics of the cards that you've got lined up on Saturday. The next thing is, for you as the promoters, what's been that relationship with the Kenya Professional Boxing Commission to ensure that now the sport, pro boxing, because these are boxers who rely 100% on earnings from the ring, is active and we can see fights frequently?
Yeah. we have been working with the Kenya Professional Boxing Commission in, first of all, also sensitizing the boxers and also trying to encourage the tunaita wadhamini, the sponsors. Yeah. They make it happen, and we would really like them to come on board and make this happen. There's always value to give back through the sport of boxing, and that's the major thing. We have lots of talent and ready champions, not only George Onyango, but we also have Sarah Chieng, who won a title just like a month ago. We still have Zarika and George Onyango, George Otieno. We still have very many other boxers who are champions. We just need the sponsors coming in, KBC doing the right thing, which is sensitizing the boxers and also cleaning up or any other issues, and promoters being real to the fans and to the boxers and just making it happen.
As a promoter then with the commission, how is it that you work together to ensure that the pass for the boxers is secured? We've had a case where boxers say, I was in the ring 2 months ago, I haven't seen anything come to my account. How do you secure that?
Well, as big time boxing, that's one of the things made us get into this business. Our first year was in 2015, when we had our major event at Nyayo Stadium, and that was our thing. We were coming in to clean up every other issues, and one of the major issue was that boxers will play and not get paid. So we made sure that we handle the cash and give it to the boxers once they off the ring and they sign, and that's how we have been maintaining it. And coming this event also, it's due to people who believe in the brand and how we do it, and so that's why we are having our third event again.
So the whole thing is, and this is what I want to know, how the commission now, when you go and present to them, this is the proposal that I have.
Yes.
So I have got 7 fights on this night.
Yes.
There's one, starting with the lowest ranked boxer to the main event of that night. Here is my card. How then does the commission secure the prize money that is for these fighters?
Well, they will only secure if they believe, yes, that you have the amount. The first amount as a promoter that I always come up with is the past prize. You see, doing an event, you still have the trussing, the entertainment, and the venue itself. But for me, as I'm doing my budget, even accumulating the budget, the first thing I do is the pass. And that's what I go with to the commission.
Yes.
Once they, approve of the pass, then yes, we sign with the boxers and the commission, and start marketing the game.
So here's the thing: creating a pass for somebody, say, who's transitioned from amateur boxing and is now a professional boxer. How then do you work with their management to see how much value they can present? We know of boxers. I'm just trying to think of somebody like Saul Alvarez, Canelo. If you're going to promote his fight, then you need to be a small bank of some sort.
Yeah, we'll need not only even a sponsor, we'll need even the government to come into that.
That is a Kenyan scenario.
Yeah.
But how then do you do the valuation for the boxers?
Well, every boxer in professional is ranked. And so through your rankings, that's how you also, your pay determines your pays.
Yes.
And so with the debuts, as you're asking, the debuts, of course, now the price will be down. Now that goes down up to just negotiating with the management, how much I can afford for his, ranking. But for bigger players, talk of Zarika, Sarah Chieng, Okwiri, of course, the price goes up. I must have a good sponsor, for that to bring, such good fighters on board.
So, and then for you to have these fighters, let me just use a simple thing. It's called a matchmaking. Before now I come to some other nitty-gritties. You've got a featherweight 6-round fight.
Yes.
That's the shortest, between Joyce Abuino and Nicolas Otieno. How then do you match these two boxers? Because at times we've seen a contest where you put in 2 boxers, it's scheduled for 6 rounds, but it's done in 2.
So, well, we always say anything can happen in the ring. Anything can happen, from even a boxer himself KOing, himself,
I mean, how does a boxer, how do you KO yourself?
I've ever seen one throwing an uppercut and he misses and goes directly to himself. And he's out. Anything can happen. But anyway, with the 6 rounds, how we get to that is, of course, we check, how their training regime has been. If they can't do more than 8, definitely we put less rounds. But the promoter has to do good, homework. He has to go to the gyms and the clubs to check out for these boxers and make sure they're fit enough to go for, an extent of even 8 rounds. Yeah, mismatches, we have always had them, which unfortunately it's the promoter not doing their good homework, or the matchmaker. Yeah.
So where do you draw the line between a promoter and a matchmaker? Because there's always been those questions in this business in Kenya.
Well, yeah, in Kenya we actually need to straighten up things. We need to define, the manager needs to stick to being, the role of a manager, and there is a coach and now a matchmaker. The matchmaker works with the promoter to bring in the best and entertaining fighters.
Yes.
Without that, then we don't have a fight night. So now the matchmaker would now do the role of now going to the gym and checking out for the good boxers, and definitely the manager is all for the boxer, not the promoter, not the matchmaker. His work is to protect his boxer. Yeah.
Now, and when this is being done, and I will make a reference to the last fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury.
Yes.
Because after the fight, each of the boxers were told, for example, Deontay Wilder was told 3 months out of any activity to do with boxing because of the kind of beating he was knocked out and the kind of beating that he took. And for Tyson Fury, he was told 45 days out. How do you then ensure that boxers are out at this point? Because there are some people who may get into a prize fight but not disclose such little information that is crucial, that is important to them.
Well, the commission comes in that, and also the promoter. I always have to do my due diligence and make sure that all the boxers have done their health checks before such an event that is also coming. That has to be done, and even the day before the event, as we are doing the weighing in, we still have our medics there to do some checkups. So prior to the event and even the post-event, and even during the event itself, we'll still have our ambulance on the standby and medics. So after every boxer comes out of the ring, there'll always be a checkup, and we'll always do a follow-up, because they're not only just our boxers but also our friends and family.
Now, coming in, the role of the manager in this,
yes.
What's the kind of background check you do for if you're going to have, somebody who's managing a boxer, or in the case of a boxer who does self-management, like who I think Floyd Mayweather does manages himself, tends to promote his own fights, but you have to be quite high. You must be quite good at what you do for you to pick that up. Tell us now about how you look at the managers who are in the business and how they're vetted, say in collaboration with the Professional Boxing Commission.
Unfortunately, we are not on that level yet, because we still don't have frequent fights in Kenya. So that we can also get to a chance whereby a boxer can employ a manager. Boxing in Kenya and all over the world, it's passion. It's deep, passion. For the boxers, they end up having their coaches as the managers here in Kenya. And well, we have always produced champions, but we could do better having experienced managers or serious managers. And we will advocate for sports agencies to invest in this sport of boxing, because it's rich in history and it still has a good future. Well, those are some of the things I was telling you about. The KBC needs to, sensitize this and educate people more on how they need to handle their camps. Having a manager, of course, is all about, protecting their boxer and bringing more value to the boxer. And we just need people with more of the love for the game and brains for the business.
Well, very interesting. Yes, we're speaking with Chris Kinyua. He is the CEO of Big Time Promotions. They are organizing something that has been known as the Garage Match, and we're going to have this one's between George Onyango and Fred Nyakesha. George Onyango will defend his title in the National Light Welterweight Division. So that's on Saturday. We'll be getting into the fight proper and getting into that. Now, there is a little matter that comes into play, and this is when the boxers are out there, the pre-match meeting, as they call it.
Yes.
It's good that you brought the gloves, and looking at the gloves here, these are 14-ounce gloves.
Yes.
So let me just 14 times 28 grams. Just about what 400 grams in weight. So this boxing gloves here always have to be checked, and there is a standard as to which must be met. How then do you select the correct gloves for each weight division? If it's people who are say a featherweight, a middleweight, or a heavyweight, how do you pick the gloves? Because they do change as per the divisions.
True. And if you can check on our card,
yes,
we have let's say 5 divisions.
Yes.
And so for every divisions, from the light welter to the feather, different ounces. The light, let's say like the featherweight, will go with the 8 ounce. And the heavy guy will definitely now use this 14. So in between now the 14 and the 8, that's why we fit in the middleweight, the welterweights. And this has to be checked by the commission before the event and during the event, and signed on the glove.
Yes, I noticed that the moment you get laced, and let me have this. Yes. So the moment I have, this is the right hand glove.
That goes there.
Yes. So the moment I have it in, and notice that it's the moment the laces are done, it's strapped and signed by the officials, so that you cannot change that. At your corner when you're doing your break, somebody can change the glove. How quick
to
can
a
you
lesser,
do that?
So fast. They do this every day in their gyms. They can do that, and so that's why it's always signed, so that there are no questions about it. Then
something else is about the strapping that's put out there, and to protect the knuckles. How's that checked? Yes. Because I've seen boxers actually, when they put them in and they try to feel the knuckles without the strapping, they say, listen, these gloves do not meet the standard. You can actually get hurt.
You can feel.
Yes.
First of all, the boxers wrap themselves not only for the opponent, but also for their knuckles. They can also end up hurting their knuckles, or even breaking a finger. So once you see them strapping, they strap them even in between the fingers, for proper balance. And a lot of it comes here, for so that they can also not damage their knuckles. And yes, that is also signed. Once it's strapped, it's also signed. And
so then comes in the match day. What do the referees actually check when before the match? Because the commission, the referees and judges, and both sides have got to check. What do they look for? You can actually demonstrate by using this glove what they look for specifically when it comes to it, so that people understand.
The padding is the most important thing, of course, and also the size. Is it the right size for your weight? And now the padding, that has to be, that's the key thing. Way back, when boxing was, just another sport, they used to use gloves that had less padding, and it used to make so much damage on boxers, both cuts and just head damage. But now with time, this has been improved, and now being in the modern days, we have proper gloves with the right kind of padding. The rest is up to the boxer. Protect yourself at all times, and
that is part of the protective gear. There is one that they have when they've got the trunks, or what we call the shorts, the one that protects, around the tummy, and that. Describe that and its function.
Well, unfortunately, some of the boxers go below the belt, and
that's
of course that hurts.
No, ideally, if I was a referee or a judge and you go below the belt, I won't even warn you. I'll just point to every judge, the three judges, and have that point deducted. And that way they can't do it. These days,
at times it's
soft these days.
At times ni kibahati mbaya, as we say, you know. But hiyo kibahati mbaya, when it's coming, at least you're protected. You see. So that's the main purpose of the thing, you know, to protect yourself. But yes, you should be disqualified, or, you know,
I mean, a point deducted.
A point deducted, you know, and if repeated again, yeah, disqualified. But always you need to be protected, and that's the main thing, you know.
Which now comes and protective gear. How different is it for the men and the women? Because I've seen on your cards you've got women.
It's the same. It's the same. As they say, they ask for the equality. Pun not intended, but well, it's the same thing. They still have their protective gear down on the trunks, and also the gloves. But we don't have the headgear. Even in the amateur, that it's never it's only
exist. The women who still do the headgear.
Only for the juniors.
Only for the juniors.
Only for the juniors. No. Both men and women, juniors, they will use it. But once you come to semi-pro and pro, there are no even headgears.
Which now brings me now into the fights proper, the grudge match, this card, and let's talk about 7 of them. And first of all, let's start with the featherweight, a 6-round fight between Joyce Awino and Nicolas Otieno.
Yeah.
The whole context of this fight.
Well, it's nice to have a gender balance in the first place, and hence having our first card, you know, having the ladies first. They're key into any sports, and you know, Conjestina took up the lead in that, and Zarika is holding it at the moment.
Well, that was 16 years ago when she captured the country by storm.
Yes, and Zarika was still, you know, in the making, and now Zarika having to, you know, maybe step out. We still have Sarah Chieng, who has 4 titles.
I'll be coming to Sarah later.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Let's start.
Joyce Awino
and
Nicolas Chieng. Good fighters. Nicole is from Mombasa. She'll be coming all the way to Nairobi, and this is the second time meeting up. So sorry much. We now need to define who's the real champion between them. Yeah, and so 6 rounds is what they will be battling out for.
You mentioned this, that you look at the category of fighter, how well they've trained, how much they can endure.
Yes.
6 rounds for these fighters. How have you seen them grow? Because at one point, I mean, pro boxers start with the 4-round bouts. Now moving up to the 6. How have you seen them grow?
They're good. They're good. As I've told you, this is a rematch, so they already have the experience. And I'm pretty sure once they had the rematch, they have already sharpened their skills and ready for this. So as much as I believe they can do 8, I just wanted them to prove themselves on the 6 first.
Well, kind of protecting the athletes. Another one is Calvin Okello and Albert Kimario. That's a featherweight, over 6 rounds.
Yes. Calvin Okello is also very good, and Albert. Both their stance are different. There's orthodox, and well, the other one is
the southpaw.
The southpaw, yeah. So of course, it's all about the brains now, you know, and not mostly the strength, because they're also going for 6 rounds. So it's not mostly about the strength; it's about the brain. Within those 6 rounds, you need to have scored your points, or if you're lucky, throw in a KO, you know.
And now that you're mentioning that, before I move to the other fights, what are the regulations that you're going to use for these 2 fights? And I want, when it comes to the knockdown, if a boxer is knocked down 3 times, is that contest over, or do they continue?
Well, the referee is the main say to that. It depends. Is the boxer still strong? Did the count even reach to 8? You know? Because
I'm considering this. If you've got the standing 8, I mean, anytime you're knocked down and you go up, you're counted for 8.
Yes.
And they
checked.
And
if
they checked
you're stable.
If you're stable.
Yeah.
But then, if you're not, there are contests which are over if there are 3 knockdowns. Does this apply to your fights?
Well, there's always a like a counting formula to every judge. Well, you can be knocked down 3 times in the last round, and you had won every other round. So not unless it's a proper KO, I don't think you would have won. Yeah. So I don't think through, having, not unless then, of course, you having the 3 knockdowns. I believe the other boxer have already won because he's good.
He's
3
good.
knockdowns.
So that is 8, 7, 6. That's 6 for the round.
Yeah.
So then, so in that case, what the scoring pattern use the standard 10, the referees and judges, have they been identified so far?
Yes. We are working with KBC on that. They always, their mandate is to officiate and commission every match that we do. As big time boxing promotions, we have always worked closely with KBC and their chairman, Honorable Ndolo. And we have always been thinking of also training the coaches, having, like them doing regular trainings, the referees and the judges. And that has been going on for a while. So they are set and ready to even do international fights.
Okay, we continue with our conversation on Sports Check. We were talking about boxing and fight cards that are on this weekend. The big one is known as the grudge match, and it's all about professional boxing. For the men, they fight bare-chested. That's all I will say. No further, don't ask any further questions about that. And we are with Christopher Kinyua, who is the CEO of Big Time Promotions, the people who are organizing these fights. And within these our sign language interpreter is Susan Thuku. So, Chris,
yes.
I was coming to you and we were talking about the middleweight fight. And this is between Denzel Onyango and Brian Ochola. This is a division that's exciting. Floyd Mayweather fought in that. Saul Canelo or Alvarez is in that division too. What makes this division now the exciting one, while we all grew up knowing, well, the heavyweights are the ones who count, Ali, Tyson, and now we've got Joshua and Fury and Wilder.
Yeah. This is also an exciting match for me. I'll have to watch it. As a promoter that day, I'll have to sit down and watch this fight. I've been watching Denzel Onyango from his amateur days and also Brian Ochola. And they're good boxers, they're entertaining boxers. And so having to match them up, it was an honor as Big Time Boxing Promotions, because believe me, Denzel and Brian Ochola are the future of boxing in Kenya. They're champions in the making. As I told you, entertaining fighters. Don't miss the fight.
Well, let me ask, how do you get entertained by people who want to change, the facial structure of each other? But there's something I've asked. What makes the middleweight division exciting today as compared to the heavyweight days when we had Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, ruling that weight and everyone interested in keeping up with that? I
think it's always a phase. There are many other boxers who are in training as we speak and coming up. Right now, our champions are Sarah Cheng and Okuri. Okuri is also a middleweight, went to the welterweight. It's always a phase whereby whoever is good enough brings up that division up. At the moment, middleweight makes it even nice because at least they can make, they're fluent. Boxing is a sport of science, and that's why it now makes it exciting and entertaining. If whoever brings out that science, then makes the fans go on their feet.
Well, let's find out from the grudge match who's going to have the science. And then one interesting women's fight here, Jane Cavulani, and this is in the welterweight division. For Jane Cavulani, she's been in the business for some time, and Consolata Mushangi. This one should stand out, and I will straight ask.
Yes.
Is it at risk of being a mismatch in favor of Jane Cavulani?
Not at all, because at the end of the day, we'll still check their weights. We'll still check their weights, that they are at par. And at the end of the day, they fought a month ago, and so this is also a rematch. They had a controversial draw. They had a controversial draw. So we are here to set things straight. Let's get to know who's the champion, and we move on now to other things. Yeah, whoever now wins, we bring in an opponent from the East Africa.
So looks like, yes, this is somebody who's moving up this is in essence an eliminator for the East African Championship.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We still have guys who are also asking to come in from Uganda, Tanzania, so we want to create that space, but we need to know who's the leading here in Kenya first, so that we bring in any other opponent. Yeah.
Now let's move on to another one. Nicolas Otieno, he's known as Kanyankole. He's one of Kenya's top pro boxers in the lightweight division against Joshua Osotsi. Nick's decision now to move up weight, what's the whole story about Nick at the moment?
Nick is a veteran. He can go down, go up. He knows himself. He has enough experience. Been playing in the game, since amateur to now pro. Now this is strength versus experience. Osotsi brings the energy that he has. He's way younger than Nick.
Yeah.
But Nick brings in the experience. So Nick is fit enough to go up the weight, and he's willing to prove. So about the age.
Well, at times they say I've been told that if you've got a young snake and an old snake, the young snake will release all the venom, the old snake will release just enough to paralyze the prey. Now we've got a super welterweight fight over 8 rounds. Daniel Oluoch against Kennedy Opio.
Yeah, also a good fight, very good fight. Daniel Oluoch, still a very experienced fighter, and also Kennedy. They have been doing the pro for a while. Almost now 6 games in the making. Well, now from this also we determine now who's going to take up maybe the national title, and after that we bring down an opponent. It's all about now finding champions. They're the youths of today, but tomorrow's champions. So we want to find that champion.
2 fights you've already mentioned that are eliminators for championship belts.
Yes.
What's the process that you work with the commission when it's identified either that a title is vacant or there must be a mandatory challenge?
Well, you have to get to that rank first. You must have at least a good good record, enough wins, and convincingly. We can't take you to bigger fights, more experienced fighters. Of course, that will also maybe destroy your career. So the office also protects the boxer. Make sure whoever is going to fight, they are at par, and also he's fit enough and the record is good enough. Everything has to be checked through the box rec. We have a site called the box rec. You cannot lie. The rankings are there.
Well, he mentioned about box rec, and I wanted to bring out this information. For box rec to accept this fight that you have given data about, one of the things they ask for is a video. How do you intend to capture this and not pick, not do the cell phone thing and show that people who are there could have been just some shadow boxing? How do you capture this? How do you have this captured appropriately? Such that boxer can review the fight and accept the results?
We'll definitely live stream on our Facebook page, YouTube page, through Big Time Boxing Promotions. So wherever they are, the officials can still watch. We'll still also send them invites. But we're also hoping to have a national broadcaster for the night to stream to the...
You bring it.
Yeah, it will be lovely. It will be lovely to have KBC on board to stream it live to the nation. I remember when I was young, my first love for boxing, my mom used to wake me up at 5 a.m. to watch Tyson play in the early 90s on KBC. Let's make it the home of sports again, and boxing.
Well, that message is there, so we will be talking about it. And the big fight on Saturday, definitely. This one's between George Onyango and Fred Nyakesha. Let's talk about George Onyango when it comes to his context. Officially, 9 fights for George Onyango.
Yes.
Coming into this, going for the defending his national title. For you to pick Onyango and match him up against Nyakesha in this rematch, what was the thinking for the first fight and now for the second fight?
Well, for George Onyango, he has always proved himself. And not only when I'm talking to him, he has that passion. Not only the passion, but also his record can speak for itself, Having 9 fights and 6 wins.
Yes.
Out of the 9. And out of the 6 wins, 5 KOs, That's convincing win, And so he's fit to even, Now defend his title and go for bigger. Now the next thing for him, maybe if he wins, inshallah, he will do East Africa Central and East African title, and the Africa is for him, you know.
All right, now let's take a look at the fights that he's been in, because it's straightforward. His first fight was a draw, and that was in 2017. In October of 2017 against Jeffrey Nyamu, won by TKO against Jackson Wainaina. Rogers Omondi was knocked out. He lost by TKO to Francis Miyuesho, then won against Jay Ngotiko. Fred Nyakesha, he won that, and that was a split decision. Nicolas Mwangi, he lost to him, but he was knocked out in the fight against Nick Mwangi. Then Robert Mose and Richard Okoth were defeated via knockout. Looking at this, his last fight, for example, against Nyakesha, and that was in 2018 September, was a split decision. How closely matched is this fight?
They went for a distance, the whole rounds, 10 rounds, and as much as it was a split decision, Fred Nyakesha was saying, you know, it's a controversial decision.
Anything split is always controversial. It means two judges score in favor of you and one in favor of me.
Yes.
And I'll say then it will be called controversial.
Hence now the grudge match, you know, and Fred getting a second chance to prove himself, and not only just prove himself, but also pick up the title. You know, the last time there was no title online. This time round, there's a title online, and so it's about the name and the title.
So then let's talk about Fred Nyakesha. His record, 7 fights that he's won out of the 11 he's been in, and only one of them by knockout. He's lost twice, he's been knocked out twice, and 1 draw. What quality does he bring in at this point?
He's a stylish boxer. Fred Nyakesha also plays that science of boxing, and hence me choosing this fight card. You know, every boxer on this fight card is an entertaining fighter, and Fred Nyakesha also plays that science, and not only now having experience, but also, you know, good with what he does, you know, always protecting himself and keeping a distance, and always, you know, playing the science around the ring. Yeah. Overall, well, as we've been having this conversation, we're receiving some feedback, and this is an interesting one, and it's from Turkana County. Okay.
This is a question that has been asked, and somebody's interested.
Yes.
And it's Rukia Nazirate, East and Central African and UBO champion from Turkana, is interested in meeting you. So the question then is, how do you create this relationship with a boxer?
Well, as we said, professional boxing is a business, and big-time boxing promotions, we came into this business to make sure that we also protect our boxers and make the best of the sport. I'm honored to meet her. I've always heard about her. We haven't had a one-on-one with her, but I know a lot about her, and congratulations to her for the title. All I would urge is more support from the government and more support from our sponsors, so that we can, you know, bring up such fighters. As we talked of, the pass goes higher if you have a title. So Okuri also wanted to be on this fight. Sarah also wanted to.
Okuri was in a fight in Tanzania just a few days ago.
That was
2 months ago.
Yeah, 2 months.
Less than 6 weeks to be precise.
Yes. As long as you're ready, you know, as long as you're good and fit, and you know, not only physically, also medically, you're good. You know, we sign and ready. As much as if I can raise the price, that's why I'm asking kindly all the brands, you know, who are out there, willing to, you know, coming in the sport and get some value out of it, wamekaribishwa sana.
And so then it means something else, that how you reach out and communicate to the people. This is probably just one of the platforms that are there, but how do you keep people engaged?
Yeah,
when it comes to pro boxing?
When it comes to pro boxing, the biggest damage we have down there is equipments. So I've always tried sourcing out equipments from well-wishers and, you know, partners. Mostly from Brian Matheson from Denmark. He used to be a former boxer, now just a coach. But he has supported boxing in Kenya in a major way, in Mombasa especially, and now I'm bringing him, you know, pole pole in Nairobi, because also we have champions on this side who really need help in terms of being equipped, from as less as the gloves to a mouth guard to the gyms. You know, the gyms and the clubs down there are also not very well equipped. So the major thing we are trying to do is just equip them. Yeah.
And talking about the gyms now here, how different is an amateur boxing coach from a pro boxing coach? Where do you draw where do you pick the thinking line between the two?
There's a very thin line, I'll say, you know. Amateur and pro at this point, is the mission is what is it's different. Well, amateur, you're just representing your country and, you know, your name, and also building up the foundation. But for pro boxing, you already have the foundation ready. It's up to you now to get into that business. You know, pro boxing is business. You know, that's why we have the Mayweather breaking records, you know, because he took the sports of boxing serious. And we thank him because he brought back the name.
The other thing is reaching out to different parts of the country. I can count the number of fights that have been outside Nairobi, professional fights. How then do you work, say, for example, in Kisumu? I know they would love to watch the boxing, the pro boxing fights there, in Mombasa, and also in Nakuru, which has for a long time been considered a good base for boxers. How are you reaching out to these places?
Yeah, as I was starting up big time boxing, I made sure I went down to every other county, the ones that you've mentioned, from Nakuru, Kakamega, Kisumu, Mombasa, and of course I visited lots of clubs in Nairobi. The thing is, as big time boxing promotions, it's our dream to take boxing out of the county. It's in the pipeline. If we have good sponsors and brands on board, we'll definitely love to take matches to Mombasa. Mombasa love combat sports. Kisumu, the same thing, they love combat sports. And so having to go to these major counties will definitely, you know, bring up more guys who will have the interest in the sport and create champions, you know, unending belt of champions. Because at the end of the day, there's still Olympics come 2054, you know.
I mean, at the end of it all, the other question is then, how do you, there's one thing that the Kenya Professional Boxing Commission Chair, Honorable Ndolo, said once, is there is a level at which if you get to a certain level at amateur boxing, then you need to turn pro. The case of Rayton Okwiri, who decided to turn pro after the Rio Olympics. The question is then, how do you attract them? Those who are, for example, are representing the country right now, and they play at a certain level, African championships or something, how do you then rope them in to pro boxing if they're going to continue with this craft?
Yeah, it's not easy, first of all, to turn any amateur to pro. Reason being, you take them up into your stable. Once you take them up into your stable, that means you're catering from their, you know, accommodation to their food, to their training, and everything. You take that up. Of which, when Okwiri turned pro, it's big time boxing who approached him, and we turned him pro because we had the support of Fox Sports. Fox Sports had already come in, and we had a deal with them, and we did an event at Crown Plaza, and so at that point we had some loot to get him in.
I was the fight night commentator, so I remember that fight very well.
And so we wish more other players would come in, and we will definitely turn more amateur boxers to pro. Earlier, the earlier the better. We have guys out there turning pro as early as 20 years. You know, unfortunately here in Kenya, you'll find somebody at 35 thinking of turning pro. It's too late. You know, we need to now take this down to even to schools. You know, let them train as young as from 10 years, and by the time they are doing 10 years in the game, they're turning pro at 20, you know.
So, and which now, I mean, something's captured me. Rayton Okwiri is not your ordinary boxer. We know he's got his employer, the National Prison Service.
Yes.
But you mentioned about taking up a boxer and making sure that you are now, you're now the guardian of this person.
Yes.
What's the process of someone now getting, you announce I'm turning pro, getting accepted by the commission and being picked up by a management team and getting their debut fight? That journey that's there, tell us about it.
First of all, for you to even get there, that means you had a good record at your amateur level. For people to even get to notice you, that means you had a good foundation on the amateur level. We as much as I'm representing professional, we all love boxing, and I go for amateur events and competitions and get to see these young guys growing up and identifying them. So Rayton Okwiri, as an example, would approach the commission, and of course the commission will have to license him after doing the medical checkup and the fitness checkup, and after that he would look for a stable. Would he want to work with Big Time Boxing or any other promoter in the country and get under that stable and sign? That is the mandate. You have to sign, commit, and it's a journey. Now you end up making that journey into your professional career. May it be a long term or a short term, they have to take care of their needs, home needs, gym needs, even mental, and a stable is not only just a stable, but it becomes into more of a family, goes from being friends to a family. So you take care of the boxer, as one of of yourself.
If somebody joins a stable, then the question that comes in: how do you select there is a matter of selecting coaches. We've seen boxers switch coaches. How then do you pick these coaches for the boxers?
Still have to go to the ground. Get your best coach. You need the best coach on your corner for your best boxers. Everything that is good ends up being the best. And so we have also done our homework as Big Time Boxing Promotions, and we have partnered up with a coach called Priest Alfred Analo, coach to Sarah Cheng. He's really good. He has trained
the founder of the
Box Girls.
Box Girls, who are nominated for the Lauriers Award.
Yes, he's good, and he has handled all the champions, all the lady champions you have ever heard of in Kenya, from Conjestina to Zarika to now Sarah, and even the future boxers are all coming from him. So I'm honored to work with him, and glad to have him on my corner. And if now we bring in the good boxers as Okwiri and Akina Denzel, I'm happy, because this is bigger than Kenya, to be very honest. Boxing is international.
Yes, that I agree.
Yeah,
I think the last fights we saw here for Sarah Cheng, boxers were from Malawi. From Malawi,
and you see she was ranked very well, Anisha Bashir, and Sarah proving herself, that. She can beat Anisha. She was ranked number 11 in the world. And that can tell that Coach Priest is doing what, is needed to be done. And he's the gate pass to the international scene. Yeah.
Talk about the international scene then. How do you get, for example, fights, getting the opponents for boxers who get to a particular level? In women's boxing, moving up the rankings is easier than you would find, for example, in men's boxing. I wouldn't expect, Rayton as a middleweight or even as a light middle to, to get into the top 10 that quick, given his late entry into the sport. But there are more opportunities for women boxers as we speak. What are there? You've seen Sarah fight against Anisha Bashir. She's won. What are the opportunities that are there for them?
Well, the biggest opportunity is that there are less women boxers, and so with that, at least now they have to fight less people to get to the top. But it's not easy still. It's nothing comes easy. They still have to fight the best of the best out there. For Sarah, she will have to now go for a bigger rank. Being number 11, she has major fights now coming in. Well, for her, she needs now to get into twice whatever she was doing back in the days. She needs to train twice. For Rayton Okwiri, at the end of the day, he also has so many other fights to fight. But we believe in him. He's good. Rayton Okwiri is good, and in a few years, or even less than 2 years, we'll have a champion.
All right. So now let's come into Saturday's fight and some things. Everyone's talking about, the COVID protocols. We are happy that we have this the sport back. We are happy that we're going to see action here in Kenya. But how are you going to keep that crowd at a minimum when you host the fight on Saturday?
Yeah.
Because there are restrictions to the number of people you can have in any one gathering.
True. And hence having it live broadcasted to give have less numbers in the arena, but we'll also do the spacing as required. And also, just to mention, the commission and the boxers and the boxing fraternity have been vaccinated for this, so even them getting into the ring to have that contact, they have all been vaccinated and they have the SATs. For the fans, we'll definitely do the spacing, and whoever won't make it to the arena, we'll definitely make sure we live stream it. And hopefully KBC comes on board and streams it to the whole nation. Well, that's Christopher Kinyua. He's the CEO of Big Time Promotions, telling us about professional boxing. And just as an aside, yes, looking at some of the fights we've had, yes,
we've had Porter in it over the weekend. We had Lopez and Cambosos Jr.
Yes.
We also had Canelo Alvarez in action.
Yes.
The question is, what are you learning from these professional fights that are in the US, how they go about it, and use best practice, not copy and paste?
Yes.
I mean, we can't afford Bob Arum, we can't afford Don King, but what are the things that they're doing that makes us get attracted to these fights all the time?
First and foremost is just being professional. As you're saying, it's professional boxing. Let's just be professional in what you're doing. How you're handling your boxers. If the boxer is a champion, handle him like a champion, And, from the medics to the security to how they market their shows, the whole thing, it's becoming, there's a thin line between sports and entertainment. And so that's the same thing we'll be offering, sports and entertainment on that particular day.
All right, thank you very much. And he's told us it's sporting entertainment, but this is a sport that nobody plays, boxing. So it's a grudge match on Saturday, Onyango versus Nyakesha, and that Big Time Promotions have put that together. Thank you very much, Christopher, for joining us this morning. He's the CEO of Big Time Promotions, Christopher Kinyua, and he's given us the insights and the boxers. And also, he said he's going to take up that feedback we've got from Rukia Nasirate, the East Central African champion, who says, Chris, I want to meet with you. That's all we are happy that one boxer's come back. And we hope that she gets to talk to you and grow her craft. We'll be taking a short break, and when we get back, we'll be talking about football and two types of football. One, football, or what the Americans call soccer, and then also rugby football at about 11:15 a.m. That conversation coming in the next hour.